All right, welcome to the Alternative Football Panel. I am your host, XFL Mike G, and with me, as always, our producer Rick 8-Bit down there, Royce. Wave to the camera, Royce. And joining us on a rare occasion is Zom Fox. He's filling in the day for Demarcus, who couldn't make it. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
All right. Well, this week we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday football. How did you guys feel about having 4 days of football once again? We haven't seen that in a few months.
I like it when they do that. It breaks it up into nice little chunks for me to be able to recap everything.
I'll say it's great, but when you're trying to post stuff for each game, it makes it a little tough with work involved.
Yeah, it's a coordinate all that, and Zom has got stuff all over the place. Zom is how many videos are you putting out a week now? Now that you're in season?
4 videos, it's technically 4 videos, and then 2 live streams and 4 shorts every week.
Jeez.
And appearing here, of course, that counts as well. And we're glad to have you guys. What are your thoughts on this weekend? I'm going to step away to do some sharing. I'm going to let you guys vamp and talk about whatever you want to talk about. We do have some news, Royce, if you want to break that out. And I'm going to do some sharing. I'm going to step aside here for a second.
Well, the news that just broke is that I'm going to mess up his name, Taualuia. Boy, I can never say his name right. Somebody else say it for me.
I think it's
Taialoa? Sure, I'll go with that. Does that sound right? He just got waived by the Gamblers, so that's pretty big news for them because he had played in several games for them, really. But I think they must be counting on Plumlee coming in and maybe taking some snaps, but I don't know, man. They look too unhealthy at QB to be waiving people, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, they cut Castronova like 3 days ago just to now cut Talia. It's like, what are we doing?
They're like a MASH unit out there. I don't know. It's pretty bad.
Hey, maybe they're going to have their backup be a wide receiver again because that was terrible. At the end of the game, your quarterback goes down and your backup receiver is in a quarterback, and you have a chance to win it if you march down the field. I don't know.
What, you don't like calling QB draw with your wide receiver at quarterback on 2nd and 19 with no timeouts left?
Yeah, at your own 20.
And the crazy thing is, Castronova is used to that kind of pressure from his indoor football and arena football days, that if anybody's going to be good at the 1-minute drill, it's going to be a guy like that. So if they would have had him for one more day, you never know. I just think that was a big error on their part. So, but maybe they just didn't want to pay him one more day. Who knows?
It makes you curious, too. If they had a decent backup quarterback, they were down 7. Could they have come back? I mean, if someone, Zom, this is a good idea for you. Make a what-if video of how this league could have been if they actually had a quarterback. If Luis Perez went to didn't go to St. Louis, went to a team who needed a quarterback. I mean, booking like a Mark, my brother would love to have you on.
Hey, I mean, the Renegades need a quarterback right now, so it would be nice if they had a guy like Perez on their team. Crackcourt 2.0.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that's the exact reason why I didn't pick Houston to do anything this year, is because QB to me at the beginning of the year was the most up for grabs for any team. So I put them 8th, and they kind of showed me, they just didn't know what they were doing at QB. So pretty sad.
And it's crazy to think too. I mean, with everything that's happened, if you look at the games that have been winnable, I mean, the running backs kicking major butt. You give them a good quarterback. This league, 2-4 is your basement team right now. 5-1 is your main team. No one's probably going to take the defender spot, but you got 3 spots left, and everyone's within 2 games of each other. It's complete madness. I've never seen it with the UFL. Never had it. The XFL. You knew at this point teams are eliminated. Everything's up for grabs, which makes it even crazier.
Yeah, I mean, the closest we've ever seen was like the 23 USFL, and that was just because you had one division that was so good that every team was like within 2 games there, and the other division was so bad that 4 and 6 won the division. Yeah. I mean, but for one conference for this to happen is crazy.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what the tiebreakers are going to be now. Remember Seattle and St. Louis?
That later, but I do believe we actually have a clinching scenario this week. So if I remember correctly, it should be based on head-to-head, right? I think head-to-head is the first tiebreaker.
Mhm.
If that is the case, all that needs to happen is Columbus loses to St. Louis and DC wins, and DC should clinch a playoff spot because
Nice.
they only played Birmingham once this year and they beat them, and they only play Louisville once and they beat them. So if they win this week, they get to 6 wins, meaning that it doesn't matter what happens with Louisville and Birmingham because their max is 6 wins and they have tiebreaker. And if Columbus loses, they hit 5 losses, so they can't hit 6 wins. And they're playing Louisville. My bad, I got Louisville and Houston mixed up. But they're playing Louisville, so if they beat them, then they get head-to-head and make them fall. So I believe DC can clinch this week, and it's the only clinching scenario either way this week.
That's cool. Do you think they will?
Going back to the Houston and the musical chairs they got going on at quarterback, that was a bit of a shocking development that came on right as we were coming on. And that's part of my warm-up exercises is to say Tagovailoa. I still think it's first. I think it's
You did better than me.
Talia, but I don't have to say that anymore. And it was odd that Trinova and brought in John Reese Plumlee. I just don't know what's going on in Houston. Every time I want to give them some bit of maybe they can pull it off, maybe they can't, every time I want to believe in them, they do something like this. I don't know what's going on in Houston. It may be time to overhaul that front office. But who's ready to move on to the first game of the week, our Thursday night matchup? Everybody's ready?
Yeah.
St. Louis and the Kings. Everybody pretty much had St. Louis picked on that one. Did anybody pick the Kings? Rick, did you pick the Kings this time?
I think I did.
I know I did.
I think Rick and I both picked the Kings.
Yeah.
Were you guys counting on the bounce back?
I'll be honest. I was expecting the team of the Kings that showed up last week to show up. This went back to the other Kings team, and now I'm questioning which King is the King because they couldn't get anything going. I was a big fan of the offense. I feel like they still could get things going, but it was night and day difference again. It really makes you wonder what's the real team here, because is it the team that shocked everyone with putting up yards and points, or is it with 4 rushing touchdowns, or is it this team that only could score 3 points and honestly looked like it was like the Three Stooges on a turf?
I think it might be that the Renegades defense is really that bad.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys looked at it, but I believe Louisville's longest rush was 17 yards in this game. They finished with 13. So you do the math. If you eliminate their longest rush, they were, I believe it was 12 carries for -5 rushing yards. St. Louis themselves sucked on the ground in this game, but -5 yards if you eliminate your longest carry is a diabolical stat line for Louisville.
Absolutely. Well, to me, it shows what the Battlehawks defense can do, and I love to see that. They're really clicking on D. So go ahead, Mike.
Well, what I was going to say is, and it could have been so much worse, St. Louis, for whatever reason, is sticking with Frost, whether it's out of spite or whether they're keeping Perez on the bench because maybe he was forced. He forced his way into St. Louis, and out of spite, they don't want to turn to him quite yet. But I was watching the press conference with Ricky Prohl, and he said, we're going to go with the quarterback who gives us the best opportunity. And what that means to me is you're going to keep rolling Frost out there until a game is on the line, and maybe hope Perez comes in and saves you at the last second, or a game that you're going to have to lose and then start Perez the next week. Guys, what are your thoughts on keeping Frost in there for St. Louis?
It's been, 3.5 games he's played? If you count one half against Ring, 3.5 games, right?
Yeah.
Through 3.5 games, he's given you about 2 good quarters of football. He gave you the 4th quarter against Birmingham, and I think there was 1 quarter against DC where he was okay. So across 3.5 games, which would be 12, that's 14 quarters. He's given you 2 good ones.
Yeah. There you
Dude,
go.
imagine how good this team would be if they had a good quarterback.
Yeah,
It makes me wonder. Go ahead.
I will say the thing that made my night was literally looking at Royce and Zom. I rolled their eyes at the exact same time when you mentioned Frost. That was absolute cinema.
Well,
And as you see that comment there from Cult of the Call, he is another social content creator and obviously follows St. Louis. And I don't know if he was at this game this week, but he's been attending these games and putting his stuff out on social. So we want to give him a little shout out there too. But yeah, it's like St. Louis, what are you doing here? Are you gonna risk the season just to spite the UFL and keep Perez on the bench? I don't know.
yeah. I saw on his social media he was there. He was at the Louisville game. So pretty cool that the Louisville team got the win. The St. Louis team got the win in Louisville, and that people were able to drive from St. Louis to Louisville to see it. I think that connection between those two cities is going to be huge going forward, especially if they do that Derby Day matchup. I think is really cool. So the Frost thing, though, they got to give Perez a chance, and the sooner they do it, the better off they're going to be for the playoffs, because then he'll be getting the reps in with the receivers and be able to just hit, Butler and Pearson and Blake and everybody else that they have. They have such a good receiving core that if he can get big reps in-game reps, they could be really dangerous and maybe able to compete with DC in the playoffs if they start now. That's just my take.
Even if you want to play devil's advocate and say Perez is washed, see if he's washed. If you put him in and he ends up being bad, then you go back to Frost. But if you wait too long, then you're screwed either way. Doing a live play for this game was rough, man. Watching Harrison Frost go out there every single drive. And it wasn't even them, even the Kings. You traded Jason Bean for Mike DeLillo, and Chandler Rogers did nothing all game, yet you never put in DeLillo. So what was the point of that trade?
I don't know.
Yeah, and Royce also noticed some things about the St. Louis defense. And we've been saying it for weeks. If you give a decent quarterback or above average quarterback to that defense in St. Louis, good night. That's it. It's a wrap, including DC, up to and including DC. Royce, do you have any little tidbits you want to drop about that St. Louis defense?
I had it handy and now I lost it. But yes, I know they had 6 sacks. Let me see if I can pull up everything else. But I know they had 6 sacks and several pressures. Sorry, I totally lost my space. So I just know it was a dominating, super dominant performance. Sorry, I lost my stats.
Yeah, I think it was like I started at 6 sacks and another big performance by that defense. And like I said, if they get it together with that offense, it's a wrap for the league pretty much. With, like I said, with the exception of DC. So you guys ready to move on to Houston at Columbus? Guys, who did you have originally in this game with your picks? Who did you originally pick?
I honestly
Columbus.
Don't remember. I think I picked Houston, but I think I picked Houston to win this one.
Yeah. Who'd you have, Rick?
I took Columbus. I had a feeling that running attack would show up, and it's home for them. I feel like they play a lot better at home than on the road. And I hate to say this, but I think Houston is like the Cleveland Browns right now. So the best way. I feel like anyone playing Houston can mark it on the schedule as not as a cheese or a trap game, as someone would say, but especially with the way the quarterback play and everything's going. Like we mentioned before, they had their backup quarterback was their wide receiver. They were down 7 after on 20. Theoretically, if they had a good quarterback, they really could have been in it. But things are how they are, and I think Columbus definitely showed up. And I think the way all the other teams played this past week, some of them really dropped. It just made Columbus look even better, which is absolutely crazy.
And what did I say on last week's show? I said, if Columbus sticks to the run game, they're going to win. And they stuck to the run game, so they won. It's kind of that simple to me. If they just go to their strength, they'll win games.
And the opposite of that is what Houston decided to do. Their leading rusher was anyone? Can anyone guess who the leading rusher for the Houston Gamblers was last weekend?
Wasn't it Henderson?
Yeah, quarterback.
Nolan Henderson. I mean, they had something like 15 rushes. Besides that, 15 rushes for 46 yards. I think Yards had one carry for like 13 yards. I'm waiting for him to consistently get up there. You know, we finally waited for him to get to that 100 yards. He eclipsed that 100 yards, but then this week, nothing. And it's the musical chairs. It's the lack of a ground game, lack of a consistent offensive, cohesive game plan. And it might be time to give up on the Gamblers. I don't want to give up on them. I think just like every 2-4 team, they have an opportunity and a chance. But it's getting harder and harder every week to do that with the Gamblers.
Well, the city of Houston seems to have given up on them, so don't feel too bad if you do.
Well, the real super fans, the real diehards, those guys aren't guys like, you know, the Predator couple, Joker Wild, some of those guys. They're not giving up. But they need to find a way. They need consistent quarterback play. When you've got John Shea Kirkland, Cooper Moreno, and Justin Hall, and they get 5 catches for 35 yards, that's an embarrassment. You need somebody to get them the ball.
Call St. Louis. If they're not going to play Perez, call St. Louis.
Yeah,
And
we just had another trade go down, so there ain't no deadline.
Yeah, true.
Where I thought Perez was actually, but
Hey, Perez is only worth apparently a backup offensive lineman, so it's not like you're going to give up much for him.
True. Well, I guess what I mean is Houston has a population conservatively of 7 million people, and you can only get 5,000 people to the game at most. Like, really, they've given up on them. There are some super fans, some peripheral fans, but it's like Memphis all over again. That's what they did last year too. They just quit going to the games. So I got to see. Go ahead.
Without going too much, we've covered it. It was the Houston Gamblers, and then the Houston Roughnecks, and then the Houston Gamblers, and the Brahmas, and then that team has been through 3 or 4 head coaches. They've been at 4 or 5 different stadiums. They've been through how many different nickname and color changes. That fan base is beat up. They're beat up, and they I hate to say deserve, but they kind of deserve something good to go their way. And I was hoping that this season would be the turnaround, but that didn't work out. Maybe next season we'll see what they do with someone.
Yeah, I mean the worst part is like if their only truly successful team was 2020, because even in 2023 they ended up losing to a 4-6 Renegades team in the playoffs, and then they go back to being the Gamblers. And if you were a Gamblers fan, they had that terrible year 1 where they blew 9 halftime leads, and I think they technically blew 8 of them. And then they went the next year and they finished like 5-5, but missed the playoffs, and they sucked the year after. And then last year they finished 5-5 when it didn't matter. So I mean, like, it's just been rough. Whether you were a Gamblers or a Roughnecks fan, it's been rough every single year, man.
I just want to see what Justin Hall could do on a good team because he's so good, but he's so underutilized. It's just frustrating. So
imagine him next to Akeem Butler.
Wow.
With Harrison Frost throwing the football?
Good.
That's funny.
Moving on to what we thought was going to be the heavyweight champion bout of the weekend, DC and Dallas. Dallas started out really strong, 3-0. People were moving them into the number 1 spot. Some people were crowning them early. This has been a roller coaster ride for them, and they are on the downslope, and it doesn't look like they are going to hit that upswing anytime soon. Guys, your thoughts on this one before I jump in?
Hey, massive thank you to Dallas. After week 2, I put you guys back below the Defenders, and you proved me right that DC was a better team than you. My God, this is bad. DC did nothing in the second half, and they still won the game by 18. I mean, man, Dallas's last 3 weeks have been rough. Because even though the final score made it look farther than the technical score was, Columbus just, slapped them that last drive. They just – that final rush drive was, almost 30 minutes of real time because of how many injury timeouts they were. They just killed them. Then Louisville – with how bad Louisville looked last week, it really makes this week it makes Dallas look really bad for last week. And then this was another bad game. I mean, I put them – I know we're going to talk about power rankings later, but my rankings, I put Dallas at 8. I think they are the worst team in the league right now. because even before the losing streak, their cracks already were showing. Reed, this was the first week all season Reed actually looked better than the week prior. Every other week this season, even when they were winning, he looked worse. Same with the defense. This is the first time that the defense has allowed less points than the previous week. Because for those of you who don't remember, in week 1, there was a kick return touchdown. So the defense only actually allowed, I think it was like 10 points. So this was the first week where Reed and the defense didn't get worse statistically, and neither unit really looked good this week. Also, have you guys seen the championship rings the defenders finally got?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Love seeing that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I was going to say, and this is another one of those scores that really isn't indicative of the game. It could have been a lot worse, with DC kind of toying with Dallas and Dallas kind of not knowing what to do. Can anybody guess the leading rusher for the Renegades? John probably knows this.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't Day Hunter, if I remember correctly. It was somebody else.
I think Merriweather had one good run, right?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. It was like one guy that had like 120-something yard rush, and that was pretty much it.
He played the same position as the leading rusher for the Houston game that we just talked about.
It was Reed.
QB2.
So Reed, yeah.
It was Lennon with his 130-yard rush.
Yep.
Oh, brutal.
It's embarrassing, what they're doing in Dallas here. Also, who had more passing yards, Tiamo or Reed?
I think Reed had more yards, but he had a much worse overall stat line.
Yeah, and it was all in trying to come back. So they were just basically gave up their run game and went to the air. And
he threw it like 15 more times than Tiamo did.
Yeah,
they're right up there. But Tiamo was 3-0 for touchdown to interception ratio, and Reed didn't even register on that one. Is a combination of Dallas and Reed getting found out, or is it so many games and that you guys were talking about that drive that Columbus put on the Renegades? It almost seemed like that kind of ended their season already. Maybe it's too early to say that, guys. What do you think about the demise in Dallas?
I honestly couldn't. I know I haven't watched football because obviously my age as much as some of you guys, but I don't think I've ever seen a drive just thoroughly destroy the opposing. If you eliminate the context of the game and just the actual drive, I don't think I've ever seen a drive that looked worse for a team than that Columbus drive against Dallas, because every play, we all knew they were running it right up the middle. And it didn't matter which running back was in. They were handing it off or pitching it and running it right up the middle. And Dallas couldn't do a damn thing about it. I don't think I've ever seen a team get beat that bad in a single drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very disheartening. On top of that was the climax of them playing 3 games in 11 days or whatever it was. And it kind of took a little bit of pep out of their step. Maybe, I don't want to say crush their spirits, but it's possible. And that was very early in the season. Are they going to be able to bounce back? Interesting.
I mean, last year they were 3-1 and they ended up losing 4 straight.
Yep. And I was going to say that at the beginning of this year, we don't know how these games are going to turn out. One team could start out real strong and then fade at the end. And that's, what's starting to happen and what's starting to play out. All right. Final game of the week 6 UFL season, Birmingham at Orlando. I'm not going to lie. I picked Orlando. I thought Beck would have it on it. I thought AJ was going to be super emotional and DTR was not going to be able to save them. And I was wrong about all 3 of those counts. Guys, what do you think?
Same. Yeah. I think it was, to me, before this game, I don't know why you would have picked the Birmingham Stallions, because they looked so bad before. But I think the change at QB made a huge difference. And I don't give any credit to the coach. I'm sorry. I think that was all DTR.
Facts. 100%. He looked like Lamar Jackson out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad for Orlando. I mean, everybody kept moving the goalposts for Orlando. But now back-to-back losses. I guess the only saving grace for Orlando is that outside of the first 2 drives, they had the fumble and the turnover on downs, they outscored Birmingham 17-6. So, I guess you can make a case that Orlando was overall the better team because they lost a turnover battle like 3-0. Even if you include fourth downs, I think it was 4-1. So like, it's one of those where honestly, to me, it sort of makes both teams look bad because Birmingham had a huge turnover differential advantage and only won by 3, whereas Orlando had a bunch of turnovers and lost to AJ McCarron and Tyler Siskey led offense. That's pretty bad. But DTR, pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and it was cool to see Justin Ross put up some big numbers and great catches. I mean, they have the weapons. That we've been saying it all year. They have a solid team. They just have terrible coaching. So if you can get a guy on the field who can play coach and actually motivate the guys and get them in the position to win, I mean, I can see them surprising some of the lower end teams. But if you pit them up against somebody like St. Louis or DC, they aren't going anywhere. So I just think it's tough. And I honestly am still surprised that they made it past the storm because they're well coached too. So
let me throw this out for everyone. You know, I threw this in our little group chat about time capsule and everything. You take the Stallions, their next 4 games to end the season, you have them hosting Dallas. Then they have Houston. I'm sorry, they have the Aviators back to back. And then they finish their season with Houston.
They could get 3 wins.
They could get 4 wins, especially with really good quarterback play like DTR.
Yeah. I think Columbus is going to take one of those split 2, just because I think as long as they stick to the run game, I'll keep putting that caveat on that. But if Columbus can stick to the run game, they'll take one of the 2 in my book. I think they will. But that's pretty cool that they have a chance to then turn their whole season around because they were in the deep, deep cellar. So if they can win 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4, they'll be in the playoffs. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think Columbus probably takes one since they've had a lot of experience with playing back-to-backs. Because, I mean, even this wasn't a back-to-back. Columbus has already played 2, so they have 3 back-to-backs. They'll probably take 1. Let me ask you guys this, because I know that AJ's respectability amongst the UFL players is very much up for debate. If Luis Perez was the head coach of the Stallions right now, are they sitting at 3-3 or better?
Better.
Just because I think most people would say he garners more respect from players than AJ does. Do you think they have at least one more win if he's the head coach?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, we talked about that at the beginning of the season. Was the talent going to be enough to overcome the coaching deficit? And we're starting to see that play out with the addition of DTR. I'm going to say this, and it might be a little bit controversial. I might take some heat on this one, but I think DTR to Birmingham is the worst thing that could have happened to Birmingham for AJ McCarron. The best and the worst. Guys, your thoughts on that before I elaborate?
I agree. I mean, it's similar to Harrison Frost and the Battlehawks. They keep winning in spite of their quarterback, so they're going to keep playing their quarterback because they're riding the hot hand. I agree, because worst case, I mean, it's like Curtis Johnson, right? You win a couple of meaningless games, it doesn't really matter how you do. You end up staying, or when a coach wins games in the NFL. I actually agree. I don't think that's a bad take at all, because, I mean, God, imagine they finish one game out of a playoff spot. You're going to have Mike Rapoli being like, damn, dude, he almost did a great job bringing this team back. And then they bring him back next year. And it's no, no, he's not good.
Yeah.
And one last quick thing before we move on to Royce's stamp of approval. I do want to mention about Orlando as well. It seems like Becht is kind of reining them in. He's kind of being very cautious with this team. It's like he didn't want to show his hand against St. Louis. He didn't want to show too much of his hand against Birmingham. He's saving it for a playoff run or for the playoffs itself, because you're going to see these teams again. We don't know who's playing each other yet, and it's hard to determine potential matchups because there's no division, there's no conferences. But just my impression for the second week in a row is Becht is kind of holding them back a little bit. Guys, your thoughts before we move on?
I'll go. I hate to say this. Oh, go ahead.
I think Becht is still solid. I think he's going to turn it around, and he's going to get those guys in shape come playoff time. And I think I need to look at the games that they have coming up, but I think based on coaching alone, the interesting thing about this week, the top four teams play the 4 bottom teams. And I think that's an interesting thing. Can one of those bottom 4 teams actually turn the page and make a difference. So it'll be fun to watch.
Royce, I'll answer your comment or your question, and I'll share what I was thinking. So Orlando plays Houston, Dallas, DC, and DC again to end the season.
Ooh. Wow.
But DC might
But I hate to say this. What'd you say, Mike?
DC might have clinched by then. So those last two games might not mean so much.
Do they play Bean if they clinch?
What's that?
Do they play Bean at QB if they clinch?
I would assume so. I mean, last year they played DeLillo the last game and a half, right? They put him in the second half of their week 8 game or the week 9 game. So, because like we said, they might clinch this week. So I wouldn't be stunned if they play Bean for at least like 1.5 games.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say, I feel like this is reminiscent of Beck with St. Louis. He gets them in first place. They're doing really good. And it's either they don't show up, they miss the playoffs, or they choke in the playoffs. I'm getting that feeling again.
Yeah, I mean, if you count week 9 against the Dragons as a playoff game, since it essentially was, he's 0-3 in playoff games. Because I mean, at least I counted as one. I mean, it was winning in for the Battlehawks, and they, they didn't even show up.
If it was the NBA, it would have been a play-in game. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So.
And I do want to bring up. I know we keep trying to move on to the stamp of approval, but I wanted to bring on Marcus's comment about DTR and Austin Reed. Marcus wasn't able to make it this week, and I was going to put some of his quotes onto the screen today, but I didn't have a chance to write that up. But he's able to watch us and follow us. He said, "Will DTR have an Austin Reed crash once the defense figure out how to scheme him?" For DTR, I think with DTR, he hasn't had opportunities where he's going to be inconsistent yet, and I think that's coming. That's why I say he's also the best and the worst thing, because that moment's coming. That's been the knock on DTR, why he hasn't stayed with anybody, is because he's been inconsistent. And sometimes we fall in love with these quarterbacks who have a good game or two, and we stick with them, which is what we were talking about with like Frost. So I think with DTR, it's coming. I just don't know when, and I don't think it'll be as bad as some of these other quarterbacks. So maybe one big slip. But anyway, let's move on to the stamp of approval, Royce.
All right. Well, I just made player of the game cards for each game. Travis Feeney, he had a pretty amazing stat line. He had 4 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass breakup. So he was everywhere. And it was even more telling on the field, like what he did. It's not like he didn't have help with Jordan Williams and Pitatama Pinu and Mosley out there. They have just a solid core, but he really was flying everywhere. This was his best game of the year, so I gave it to him. Then Tay Martin, he had another really good game too. He had 6 catches, 103 yards, and a long of 52, which was amazing. And the way he caught it and just took off, he had a few of those, actually, a couple where he just made super great catches and then made people miss. So pretty fun to watch him play. He's been good all year, but this was his best game. And then let's see. Jordan, we kind of already talked about him, but he had, 20 of 28, very efficient, 227 yards, 3 TDs. He did have a pick, but still, that's a great game. He finally, he was getting it to Ty Scott and Briley Moore, Cornell Powell. They have such riches at receiver there too, that it kind of, he really doesn't have to do too much to have a good game. And then finally, I think we had Justin Ross. He had 7 catches for 135, a TD, and 9 targets. So he caught 7 of 9. That's pretty good. That's what I had.
Yeah, it's good to see Justin Ross getting back into the ledger and getting some targets and getting some opportunities. There's so many players that are not getting their opportunities because of inconsistent quarterback play. And that's one of the things that I hope that they'll continue to strive for with these quarterbacks, to have them come back year after year, unless they're really going to legitimately go into the NFL. Have them come back, develop that rapport, learn the offenses inside and out, and develop a feel so that, we can see the fruits of that in a year or two. All right.
You know
who's
what's
ready
cool
to
about
move on?
I'm sorry. I was going to say something really cool about the UFL is that at the beginning of the year, I would have expected Kane and David Davis to just eat people up. And instead, it's Mickens and Ross. So it's just kind of crazy how the UFL just brings guys' game up and make you aware of who they are just out of nowhere. So I love being surprised like that. So.
All righty, moving on to week 7. Now we're starting to see some of these matchups mean a little bit more. Starting with the Aviators and the Battlehawks on Friday. Friday Night Football has been a vibe, guys. What are your thoughts on this game before we dive into it too much? Just the feeling overall. Columbus at St. Louis. This is the first time these two teams are playing each other in St. Louis.
I think that dome is going to be rocking. I think the Aviators, they do have a great run game, but I hate to say this. I think the best defense right now resides in St. Louis. So you're going to have a home crowd. You're going to have a defense that's popping. I think the Aviators, unfortunately, run into a brick wall this week.
Well, we've seen how the Battlehawks can shut down the run. So, Yep, I agree.
Now, with that being said, it's kind of a mini reunion for the greatest show on turf. Some of the biggest names. I think even Coach Dick Vermeil is going to be attending the game this weekend. If the Aviators can get that ground game going and nullify that crowd in St. Louis, I think they've got an opportunity. Again, it's going to be the Luis Perez watch. Is Frost going to play? Is he playing the first quarter? Is he playing the first half? Is he playing the entire game? If Columbus upsets St. Louis, I think we see Perez start from here on out. I don't know if it'll happen in this game, depending on how this game goes. It'll be interesting to see if Columbus can get that ground game going against that very, very talented St. Louis defense.
I got a good point we haven't brought up. Think of it this way, too. What if St. Louis is blowing them out by the third quarter? Then they're almost forced to bring in Perez now. We always talk about if they're trailing. What if they're up ahead so much that now they have to, let's protect Frost and let's give Perez the keys to the car for a couple hours for a test drive. Because, you're at home. If you're up, you're going to have, the fans there and everything. And you're in position to, right now they're sitting second in the league record wise. You have a chance if you're up, protect your quarterback. And if Ross is the guy, give Perez the keys. Let's see what we could do. And I think that this might actually change their mind and think, well, maybe we need to change it for next week.
I know the only question was that DC had that scenario like in week 2, and they ended up playing Teamu up until like literally 2 minutes left in the game. So that's the only thing that might not do it, is that the precedent set is usually they don't put him into like the end of the game for some weird reason. Because like I expected Teamu was going to get like sat in like the third quarter against Houston. They kept him until I think it was like literally like 3 minutes left, and they finally pulled him for DeLilo.
You guys are forgetting that Blake Jackson used to play quarterback, and so they'll put him in instead.
This is true.
The giggles in there, fantastic.
Yeah, I hope we see Perez. That's all I have to say. You guys have heard it from me so much, but I want Perez.
And I was in the social medias a little bit, the social media swamp on Facebook, and it seems to be pretty evenly divided between giving Frost an opportunity and getting Perez in the game. And of that, what's that?
An opportunity. Brothers had 3.5 games. Like I know what you. I've seen a lot of people say got to keep riding him, but it's like, man, at some point, bro, like either play good or ride the bench.
Yeah, I can't get behind that argument, and it's like, what point? Like I said earlier with Prohl at the press conference, we're going to go with the quarterback who gives us the best opportunity, and what it means is we're going to go until Frost is going to lose it, and then we're going to get Perez in there to kind of save us.
You know what a great example this is, right? This is like the Texans this past year, right? They had, I respect to the Seahawks, the best defense resided in Houston. They had the best defense in the league.
Yeah.
And they had Mr. Coleridge Stroud, as I said. He does not. You can't call him CJ until he earns that. He's now Coleridge. You had Coleridge playing quarterback. He was horrid at the end of the year, and in the postseason, he was terrible. Davis Mills, when he played, he wasn't great, but he was consistent. He was serviceable. And instead of riding the guy that actually gave you the best chance to win, you roll with your franchise quarterback. And what did he do? He played horribly against New England and lost a game against Drake the schedule May. I mean, I think it's very similar to that, right? Like, one guy is playing poorly. The other guy, last we saw him, was a top 3 quarterback in the league. And the guy that you're playing right now is arguably worse than Nolan Henderson with a broken finger. So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, damn, bro. Like, what
The
more?
only difference is, though, we've seen Stroud be good before. We haven't seen Frost be good before.
This is true.
So that's a good question from DeMarcus. I wonder.
Hindsight's
Because
2020.
he could have been on the Renegade
I don't
starting.
think so.
I mean, hey, they haven't put in Luke Lennon yet, so
No, he was a leading rusher last week, wasn't he?
hey, that was only because he got hurt for a play. So I mean, I don't know if they would even put him in at this point.
Yeah.
I will say for the comment, DeMarcus's comment, I think it's all depends on who they traded with. I think if Dallas and Houston are, I hate to say enemies, but they all play in Texas and everything. Maybe Texas called them and they said, you know what? You're from our state. We're not sharing. And maybe that's how it happened. We don't know. Nobody was in the room where it happens, to quote Hamilton. And maybe they got a call from the Gamblers or another team and they're like, no. So maybe they just gave it to St. Louis because it was a spite thing for Houston, or maybe they wanted to get Perez back. No one's going to know until he writes his book.
It'll be interesting once this comes out. I'm always intrigued by the stuff that's behind the scenes that we won't see for a year or two, maybe even 5 years. It's all interesting behind the scenes. All right, moving up to game 1 on Saturday, Kings at Defenders. On the surface, this looks like it's going to be a DC win. Does anybody see anything, guys?
I mean, DC is overall, like, stat-wise, the best defense in the league. The Kings have only had one good game on the ground. Their quarterback just looked bad last week. I mean, nobody thought the Kings were going to beat the Renegades, but I can't see DC losing this game.
Yeah,
Well,
DC would have to come out completely flat-footed, mind in the clouds, not paying attention to what's going on. Roy, you gonna say?
I was going to say, to quote Blake Williams and Greg Williams, come get some. That's what the Defenders are saying. They're just like egging them on, like, come on, we're going to take them. And they just have such a championship mentality there that they're willing to take on all takers and just kind of toy with them like they did last week, to where they kind of were just partying for the second half. So go ahead, Zon.
I think the only thing that could benefit Louisville is the fact that I would assume that DeLillo knows the DC playbook better than Bean knows the Louisville playbook.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could see that gives Louisville an edge, is that either A, they play DeLillo and he knows how to go against this defense and knows how to sort of tell the offense, hey, watch for this and all that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could really see give any reason why Louisville would win this game. At least that's how I see it. That's the only thing that could help them is Mike DeLillo. If they win, I wouldn't be stunned if it's because of him.
I'd love to see Bean versus DeLillo.
Here's something crazy to think about too. Next week you run it back too. It's now Defenders at Kings. So and someone mentioned this, who shows their hand? Like, are you going to go into this saying, all right, well, this is what we're going to do? Or are the Kings going to play it how they did last time? Oh yeah, we're not that great of a team, but they're going to figure out the strategy. And then when they host them, they're just going to completely change how they're playing. And now it's the Kings that we saw again that scored 4 rushing touchdowns. Unfortunately, we don't even know.
I would assume DC goes all out for this win, because even if Columbus wins so they can't clinch, if you win this game, you get to 6 wins. it would have to take everything going wrong for you to miss the playoffs. I think if you're DC, your goal is to clinch as fast as possible and try to clinch the 1 seed as fast as possible. So I think they go – technically don't even need the 1 seed. They just need a 2 seed because they host the championship game. So I think DC is going to go all out for this win. The quicker they can clinch a playoff spot is the quicker they can bench and rest every single starter.
Yeah. I agree. Now the Kings might say, hey, they're just going to thump us in game 1. We're going to save our good plays for the second game, take it to them when they're resting. Who knows?
Hey, forecast is calling for rain in the morning, so you never know. That might be the only thing to help the Kings.
Yeah. Right,
forcing them to run the ball? Oh, no.
Yeah. Well.
2 Saturday night, 8 p.m. on ESPN. Renegades at Stallions. Guys, Rick has got me on the cheese thing. Every week I'm looking for a trap game. Could this be a trap game? Who's even favored in this game? Where are we even at right now with Dallas and Birmingham with this matchup compared to where we were 6 weeks ago, week 1? Guys, your thoughts on this game before we go too in depth with it?
Birmingham has to be favored, right? Are they?
Let's see. Hold on.
I have no idea.
Yeah. It's a terrible game, frankly. I think it's going to be ugly and lots of.
You know, as the great Charles Barkley once said about an NBA playoff seed, a playoff series, America don't even bother. This is. I honestly have no words for this game. This is a game that is going to be played this weekend between two teams that, quite frankly, I don't see either one of them getting out of the first round to make the playoffs. I mean, unless you're going to tell me that it's going to be Luke Lennon coming in and actually playing a lot of this game, man.
But that's the reason, I guess, if I have to take a serious look at it, I think that's why Stallions do win, because they have the chance with that, basically the smooth road that they have the rest of the way. If they can get this under their belt, then they can seriously make the playoffs, which 2 games ago you would have never thought they would make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I think they'll probably take it at home. Tough call, but I think they have more to play for. I'll just put it that way. Even though 0-3 the last 3 weeks for Renegades, they've got a pride to play for, but I don't think they can do it. Go ahead.
I will say this, DTR, it's another week under his belt to learn the playbook and everything. So I hate to say this, the Renegades are like Tom Petty and free falling. So can the Stallions, who now have all this momentum, DTR gets it moving and everything. I mean, Vegas is probably going to take the Stallions, and I think we're almost, we're looking at this too. It's just a trap game, but I think the Renegades just have so many holes now, and the ground's starting to cave in around them that I think the Stallions just have to, if they get things going with that offense, I think this is I don't want to say it's going to be a blowout, but I would hope so for Rapoli's sake. I mean, he's tired of field goals. So if you get everything moving, I think the Stallions have just a better offense. And I think everyone now knows how to play read.
Hey, but don't even say field goals. I'm pretty sure these are the 2 worst field goal teams in the league. I think they're like 56 and 44% on field goals this year.
Why is not Matt? Where's Matt Coughlin? He should be on either one of those teams. He was so good.
Hey, he played in the USFL. He's blackballed.
He was great for the Breakers, and he was great for the Showboats. It's crazy to me. So I'm on the bring him back bandwagon.
God, just imagine being a Stallions fan and you thought you were going to have Rodrigo Blankenship as your kicker heading into this year. Oh God! If only they knew. Only they knew.
Oh, great point. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I do trust Neuheisel, even though he's lost 3 in a row. I still trust him more than McCarron. So I could see them getting the upset, even though Stallions have every reason to win this one.
Here's a tough question. Do you trust Kevin Sumlin more or AJ McCarron more now? That's a tough one.
Not answering.
If AJ has DTR to back him up, I'm taking AJ. If he does not, I'm not.
Good point.
DTR is saving the Stallions by himself.
Yeah.
And one of the things you mentioned in the broadcast is when I start to feeling good, I start to get chirpy and start to get talking loud. He's got to rein that in a little bit, because you start getting too chirpy and there's still a lot of time left. You give that opportunity to the defense to kind of make a play on you. All right, last game of the week, Storm at Gamblers. All right, Mike. Anthony Beck takes the Orlando Storm into Houston to take on the Gamblers. On paper, it looks like the Storm could just roll on this one. It's like, why do we even have to go from Arlington to Houston to collect this W? Houston continues with that musical chairs at quarterback. Guys, any thoughts on this before we jump into it too much?
I think, to me, it's Storm takes it. Gamblers just haven't been consistent all year, and why would they start now? So, I don't know really who they're going to go with at QB. Probably not Henderson because he's still injured. Do they go with a guy who they just signed yesterday, Plumlee? I mean,
Johnson Kirkland.
There you go. But let's look back at DeMarcus's question. The winner of this game likely gets the needed tiebreaker for that last spot. I think he was talking about that Stallions game, Stallions Renegades game. So that's a good point, DeMarcus. I think that they both have something to play for right there. But in this one, I think it's the Storm all the way, just because I think they're way better coached and they have just a more consistent team.
Yeah, the Storm should take this. If they don't, that's just bad. They should win this one. If you lose this game, you're at 3 straight losses. Now there's questions about, are you going to make the playoffs? And I mean, at least for spring football, let's call it like it is. If the Storm somehow miss the playoffs, this is the worst coaching job any coach has ever had in spring football. If you start 4-0 and miss the playoffs, that's like, that would be historically inept. I doubt that happens, but hey, never say never with spring football, baby. The 4-6 Renegades won a championship.
Yeah, I'm almost excited. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Bringing up Zombie's point, or I guess I'm pointing the wrong way, but for Zombie's point, he brings up about the Storm and everything. If you think of who the Storm beat and to be 4-0, that makes it even interesting because the Storm started off with the Aviators, the Kings again, and the Stallions were struggling. So that 4-0 is kind of, I mean, it's not a strong 4-0. 4-0 is still 4-0, but it's not like you're playing, the top teams. You're playing kind of like the bottom part. So is this really the real Storm team showing up now? Now that they're playing real teams the past few weeks, or is, we never know. But I think
11-0 one year.
It just goes to show you really don't know.
But I think they're hitting Houston at the right time. If they need a get back game and a get right game, this is going to be it for them.
Yeah, and that leads into what I was saying. I think Beck is going to be methodical. He's going to be very thought out. He's not going to risk too much. He's not going to show too much. He's not going to expose his team too much. He's going to go in there, get the W, and get out as clean as possible. But this is the time of the year that we're starting to get into these matchups and these tiebreakers and looking down the road at the schedule. And this is the best time of the year for me. This is when we start looking at these potential playoff matchups, guys. Before we move on to that, any of these picks that you guys think might be a potential trap game for week 7?
Honestly, I think this one is this is the way I think I described my power rankings in a way that Houston sort of drags who they're playing with down to their level in a way. They drag you down. I don't know what it is about them, and this is a compliment. They drag teams down with them, and every game, because at the end of the day, when you look at it, it was week 1, which, as we can clearly see with Dallas, doesn't mean a ton now, and when Talia first started. Outside of those 2 games, their losses have been very close losses, like OT against the Kings. Even against Columbus, it was still a 1-touchdown game. So, I could see them somehow drag Orlando down and then just pull off some fluke W here. But to your point about this time of the year is great. I agree, because it's if you have already lost to DC, you're honestly ecstatic because that loss doesn't mean anything. You're not going to deal a tiebreaker with it. That's why I agree. I love this time of the year because, you look back at your schedule oh, yes, we lost against DC because that doesn't matter. Because you're not going to tie break against them. But if you beat, let's say, if you're one of the 2 and 4 teams and you are 1-0 against another 2-4 team, you're ecstatic because then you got tiebreaker over them. It's just, man, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right now everybody is still technically alive. All the 2-4 teams. It was St. Louis that kind of kept everybody alive by winning that game this weekend. Guys, are we ready to move on to our power rankings and picks and all that fun stuff? Because, like I said, this is where I'm excited. The power rankings for the last 3 weeks have just been blown up every week, and it's going to be exciting to see. I have not seen these yet, so I'm ready to move on. When you guys are ready to move on, let's see. Drum roll.
So
And
this
that's
is
That's week 6.
Go ahead.
And
Rick.
for those Prona colors, I apologize, but this is going to get trippy real quick.
Yeah, week 7, BC still on top. St. Louis, where they were. Columbus jumping over almost everybody, moving up 4 spots. Same with Birmingham. Now there's 5 of us, and for those teams to move up that many spots, it means a lot of us had to feel strongly about those teams. Orlando in 5, Dallas in 6, Louisville in 7, and Houston in 8. Guys, I'm going to go from left to right here on my screen. Royce, initial thoughts.
I think the tough one for me is that 4 and 5. I can see it going either way. And the only reason I put Birmingham where I did there, and I put them right there, is because the way I look at power rankings is, are you hot right now? And I think DTR has them hot right now. So to me, they get that. Do I think they're going to stay hot? I don't think so, honestly, but they could. It all depends on DTR. But I worry that they won't. So I think this is kind of weird to say, but I think the Storm is the better team. But right now, Stallions have shown they can beat them. So I think they're on the upswing. Now, Dallas, I think I had lower than this. That's the one that surprises me. I don't know why they're so high. So that's about where I stand there. Everything else looks good.
Rick, your thoughts.
I find it funny that the 2 teams that had the highest jumps were the teams no one fully expected. I mean, no one expected Birmingham to play like that and upset the Storm. And that's easy if some people are going to put it for over 5 because of that victory. And I think the way the Aviators won, I hate to say this, it's not like they had a huge win. It just everyone who lost just was poor. You had Orlando, who's been on doing good this season. They lost. They took a hit here. Dallas, they're free falling. Louisville, will the real King team please show up, because no one knows what team they're getting. It's like scratching an 8 ball and seeing what's coming up. And then Houston, I hate to say this, is the Cleveland Browns of the UFL. So the way this is looking, all those 5 to 8 teams, like I said, the way it's not how they it's not that they lost, it's how they lost. But 4, 5, and 6, like you mentioned, that's a real toss up, and that just goes to show too that how big that Stallions win was over the Storm, because the season ended today. With our rankings, they're in the playoffs.
Zom, your thoughts on seeing this the first time?
Stunned. With the Renegades, I'm with Royce. I put this team at 8 in my rankings. I will say, before I get into the exact rankings, I said in my view that I think 1 and 2 are pretty obvious to everybody. I think that the only way you don't have it that way is if you pull the I'm a St. Louis fan, you put St. Louis at 1. I think they're pretty clearly 1 and 2. I thought that 3 through 5 was the Aviator, Stallions, and the Storm in some way, shape, or form. And I thought the bottom 3 teams are the Renegades, Kings, and Gamblers. The Renegades, to me, they're in the longest active losing streak in the league, and they've looked bad throughout it, so I put them at 8. The Gamblers, I ended up putting them at 7 just because they don't got no quarterback. They ain't looking too good. The Kings, I at least view, between those 3 teams, offense versus defense, the only unit between all 3 teams I would say has been consistently good is Louisville's defense. I don't think there's a single unit on Dallas that's been consistently good. Houston, no. But I had the Storm at 3 still. It's hard for me to overlook the fact that Birmingham was on a 4-game losing streak before this win. Like, that was a long losing streak, and they looked bad in that losing streak. I mean, this was the first game they didn't look bad all season in my honest opinion. So, stunned. I love the respect to Columbus. I've said it for a while. I think the best overall single unit is Columbus's ground game. But, yeah, number 3, I'm a bit shocked at that.
Yeah, 3 and 4 are just, wow, mind-blowing for me. I actually had 5 and 6, which is Orlando and Dallas, where 3 and 4 are, which is Columbus and Birmingham. I had those two flip-flopped. So I had Orlando, Dallas, Columbus, and Birmingham in 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then looking at, like we always do at 4, 5, and 6, and the potential run for that 4th spot. Again, that just it's stunning. You don't know. And then next week, it's going to be completely different again. It's hard to see where these teams are going. Go ahead, Rick.
I'll throw this out here for just looking ahead with the week. If all 4 teams on top do win, though, that's really going to cement this 1 through 4. Because if you look up the matchups, you have the Columbus, St. Louis. That's your 2 and. I mean, right there, that's your 2-3. That's huge matchup based off of our rankings.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm just taking in these rankings, and I'm like, looking at 5, 6, 7, and 8. I think Orlando and Dallas have a shot this weekend. So, I mean, I'm okay. I'm not going to argue with this. I can see where the results of this weekend really had an effect on this poll. And again, we all have our different criteria, but wow, this is pretty shocking to see Columbus so high up there at 3.
I will say this. I think I said this in my week review this week. I genuinely believe right now, if I were to say which team has the best shot, if they made the playoffs to actually win it all, I would have Columbus at 3. I think right now, even in spite of that guy at quarterback on St. Louis, I think DC is the clear-cut best team right now. I think St. Louis's defense and their just aura can get them a ring. And I think Columbus is the 3rd best team in terms of right now winning a title. Because what does everybody say? Defense and a ground game. Their defense isn't good, but it's not bad. It's like the definition of an average defense, and it's the best ground game in the league. So I'm honestly not against Columbus at 3 if that's the criteria. Like, I know this is obviously a culmination of our list, but I'm not against Columbus at 3 because I do think that right now I would pick them to win the championship over every team below them.
I have one bone to pick with that. And I agree with you completely on all of it. But one thing, Ted Ginn Jr.
Hey, below that list is A.J. McCarron, Kevin Sumlin. Those are 2 that I think down low. Anthony Becht, again, is 0-3 in playoff games, so I'd put him down. The only one I would agree with that is Rick Neuheisel. That's a good point. I'll give you Neuheisel, but the other ones, I don't know if I really hate having Ted Ginn over the other ones, except Neuheisel. I do agree with Neuheisel.
Yeah, but you got Haley. I mean, de facto head coach. Sorry, but Haley's really the guy behind the puppeteer. So I don't know.
He made Cole Kelly into the best quarterback in Showboats / Bandits / Kings history, even though they had Case Cookus, Jordan Teamu, and a bunch of other guys. I don't know what that says, but it says something.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Ginn starts listening to Haley, I'm all in. I mean, like you said, the defense is serviceable. That offense, if they can grind it out with that 3-headed monster and keep the ball away from the other team's offense, you got a shot at winning a bunch of games.
Yeah, and if McClendon doesn't fumble, I mean, if he fixes his fumble problem, I mean, they lost at least one game purely because of that. I mean, if he doesn't fumble, there's good in the air this week. Oh, my God.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to predictions. All right, let's blow that up there. Everybody was pretty much – this is from week 6. On the same page when it came to St. Louis over the Kings, except for Rick and Zom. They both picked the Kings. Let's see. Houston and Columbus. We all picked Columbus with the exception of Zom. Dallas and DC. We all took DC, and we all took the Stallions. We all took the Storm to win, and the Stallions upset us all. Guys, just looking at that, what are your thoughts? And I know everybody's going to look at that bottom line with all them red X's on it, but what are your thoughts just on our picks from last week, guys? Any thoughts?
Kevin Sumlin.
I'm glad I gave up on FanDuel and DraftKings.
Yeah, I think it's honestly kind of funny that we all picked DC and they all won, and then we all picked the Storm and they all lost. So it's just kind of telling how just up in the air this league is for. For me, it shows the top two teams are pretty locked in, and if you pick DC and St. Louis every week, you're going to win 9 out of 10 of those. So it's pretty funny, but kind of cool. 15-9, I'll take that on the air.
And then also one of the funnest parts of this is some of these teams are going to start to separate themselves out and be consistent on offense and make that playoff run. And it's finding those teams and getting the picks right with those. It makes it fun. It makes it interesting. So with that being said, Columbus and St. Louis, we all took St. Louis. Louisville and DC, we all took DC. Dallas at Birmingham. I took Dallas. I'm going to take Dallas on that one. I just think that AJ is going to have another emotional hangover, and maybe DTR falters a little bit. And then we all took Orlando over Houston. Guys, I'm going to go from right to left this time. Zom, what are your thoughts on these picks? What you're seeing there?
I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of shocked that it's a clean sweep for the Columbus-St. Louis game. It's just – the way Columbus plays football, man, you can never say never with that way. The way they play, I mean, if you can run consistently enough, like this is the team that I think, like, if they were to play every team 10 times, I think they're the only one that wins at least 3 of them against any team just because of how they run the football. I don't know who I'm going to pick in that one yet, but that's a tough one. DC, spoiler, I'm picking DC to win this game. I got no faith in this game. I got zero faith in them. Like I said, the only way it happens is if DeLillo, basically pulls like 2002 John Gruden and it's the quarterback and all that. Like, yeah. Dallas and Birmingham, I don't know who I'm picking yet because it's like, do I pick the team that is the hot hand of 1 week, or it's the team that has been terrible for 3 weeks? I don't know. Yeah. I want to pick Houston, but dude, I'm probably gonna pick Orlando because Kevin Sumlin, man, like they could have had Peyton Pardee. It could have had Peyton Pardee as head coach, but
Dallas has to stop that bleeding sometime, and I think it'll be sooner rather than later. That's why I'm picking them over Birmingham. In Birmingham, we pretty much pick across the board, and we do fairly well. I do want to mention, of course, he wasn't able to make it, but DeMarcus is way out in front of us at 18-6. I'm second and 16-8. Viking Wax Press, which is Royce, is 15-9. Rick is 14-10, and we're not going to mention that other one.
I will throw this out there. Zam was talking about how Columbus runs and everything. Remember the first game of the season in St. Louis, the defenders ran to a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, they got the defense, they got the home crowd. I think I hate to say it's looking at their logo, they might have to air it out because I think they're just going to be just getting pounded completely, and I don't see that run game thriving as they have against the defense as the caliber of St. Louis.
Yeah.
So
I will say, if it were at Columbus, I would have had to think a lot harder about this one because I think the home crowd will take it for St. Louis, but I don't know if they could. I think I still would have gone St. Louis, and even if it was at Columbus, but it would have been a lot harder pick. So,
and then I'm not 100% on this, but doesn't St. Louis play at Columbus next week? Can somebody double check that for me?
Yes, sir. Hold on.
And if I believe that's the case. That's why I'm going to take St. Louis to get this game at home and split the series possibly with Columbus. I think, like I said, Columbus will get that together. St. Louis hasn't been consistent with that offense.
Now, St. Louis, after this, they play Houston twice, and they end the season hosting Dallas.
Oh my God, that's a cupcake schedule.
I could go for some cupcakes right now. Bring them over.
We don't know who's going to show up with these teams. Like we said last week, you never know which of these versions of each of these teams is going to show up in any given
Dude, the
week.
way Houston's been churning out quarterbacks, I wouldn't be stunned if Kevin Sumlin calls up his boy Johnny Football to come play a game for him at this point.
Hey, I did throw it out there. I in our group, and I'm going to post it tonight. I want to do a time capsule. There's 4 weeks left. Send me who you think's going to be in the championship game. I'll lock it tight. And I'll be happy to announce that on this show who actually was close to us and who's outside watching across X and YouTube and everywhere else who got close well. Because, I mean, there's some schedules that look great, like cakewalks, and there's some that look like, hey, if you could go through these 4 teams and get to where you are, then this is your playoff run starting now. So let's do it. Lock into a capsule. Let's go.
I will. Yeah, I'm ready.
You
I'll send you mine right after the show.
That the playoffs are starting. You said this last week that the playoffs are already starting, and they are. And keeping track of that, and let's see who goes where with what's left in the season. So we want people to comment on either Rick 8-Bit's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, the Alternative Football Panel. We want you to list your top 4 teams that you think are going to make it into the playoffs. So Alternative Football Panel, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, if you want to leave a comment on this video, and we want to see who got closest.
Love it.
All right, guys. Is that it? Are we done? Oh, no, we got another stamp of approval?
We have a special stamp of approval because we had some, in case anyone was watching the Fenders game, we had they finally announced the trophy, what it's looking like, and Royce was nice enough to run through what he ranked all the trophies were like, and he went through basically with his own ranking. So Royce, take it away.
Well, first of all, I got to give DeMarcus credit for giving me the idea because it was a great idea. So I went through all the trophies of spring pro football for the XFL, USFL, and UFL, and I ranked them. And I'm going to start with the lowest, which was that XFL 2023. I gave it a 2 out of 10. It's just a hideous trophy, and I don't think anybody ever liked that one. But, well, okay. Did you like it, Mike?
Yeah, so.
Okay, well, it's still ugly. So 4 out of 10 for the 2001 XFL trophy, because that one is not as bad. I actually like the fact that it says the $1 Million Game, because that was such a cool, iconic thing about that version of the XFL that I'm glad they incorporated that piece in there. It's too blocky, though. It's like structure-wise, it's a paperweight. So I think not my favorite overall. And then let's see what we got next. The UFL from the last couple years, the only thing I like about it is that it matches their logo. It's overall, though, it looks like an upside down dress, and it's pretty ugly. So didn't really like that one. And then the UFL, I actually like the UFL 2022 and 23. It looks the most like the Lombardi Trophy. That's probably why I like it. But it's 7 out of 10. I give that one. Pretty cool. A little. The football helmet one of the 83 through 85 USFL. I really like that one because I'm a helmet guy. It was hard for me not to put that one at the top. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. But this current one that they released this week is a beautiful trophy. I love it. I love the fact that it's got the silver and the gold and the stamp of the UFL on the ball and on the base. So just a cool looking trophy in my design world. So I love it. So I gave it a 10 out of 10. That's my cards that I made for those trophies.
Nice. Yeah, even though I'm an XFL guy, I still like the USFL trophy. I think a trophy, you should be able to grab it with one hand and be able to hold it up, and it should look like a football trophy, Yeah. I don't know what that UFL Rising thing was.
Man.
But that XFL trophy, we've got some love for that XFL trophy here in San Antonio.
Hey, I'll throw this out there. That XFL trophy with Mike and the Brahmas looks a lot better than any Dwayne Johnson's Oscars.
Yes.
Man,
That's for sure.
XFL trophy, that new XFL trophy, man. Like I remember when it first announced, I remember sitting there like stunned with my mouth open, like there's no way somebody said this is like the idea that you had people, no matter how few or how many, were like this the one is crazy to me. Because I low key like the OG one. Like I'm a guy that likes symmetry, so I low key dig it. And even those new one had symmetry. I'm like, dude, it's like you have a black bottom, then you have a completely different color football, and then you have a completely different color X. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it was bad.
I will say I do like the 2001 XFL because that's where my love for the XFL started. I'm a wrestling guy, as you can see with the I don't even know what direction I'm pointing. The old WWF logo. I mean, that was what my childhood was. So to see that trophy, I remember the championship game. The trophy does fit the times, but unfortunately, the times have definitely developed with trophies and graphics since then.
He hate me.
Yeah. It was a fun project to work on.
All right, guys, wrap up this show. We're gonna go around the horn here. Anybody want any last comments, any plugs, anything they're working on as far as socials? I'll just let anybody take this away, guys.
So, as a wrestling fan, I will be dropping my predictions for Backlash. Might be acknowledging someone, and also I'm very happy that I actually get to spend tonight with you four because tonight is my 4-year anniversary of being on YouTube. So I appreciate you you three being with me because this is just awesome. You know, who would have thought 4 years ago I dropped a video about the stadiums of the XFL and look where we are now. So I appreciate all of you guys.
Happy channel birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Wondering how I was going to segue that in there, but you took it. Thank you. Birthday, that's awesome. How many YouTube subscribers do you have now on your channel? I think you're leading everyone.
231.
231.
But I'm with the pros right now. Royce and Zom, they got way more than me. Honestly, if you have a chance, take a look at their stuff. Zom's literally a zombie. I don't think he sleeps because he pushes so much content. And Royce is just amazing with the artwork he comes up with the cards, his concept. It's just amazing. And the fact that we all cover something different here to come together. I mean, Royce is West Coast. I'm East Coast. Everyone's in between. It's just great how much spring football has brought us all together from different parts of the country and with different MOs for social media, which is kind of awesome.
It's a cool team. I agree.
Definitely, guys. And thank you so much for being a part of it. This is something that I really wanted to do was to bring people from all corners of the country, different background, different ages, and just talk football at a high level. And so thank you guys for being here. Does anybody else have anything else before we call it a night?
The Javante Payton, Lonnie Phelps trade. I feel it's a bit for Louisville. You already have a good defense. I guess making it better for Houston. I think it's a nice help to get another receiver, though. You need a quarterback. I mean, like, why not have tried to get DeLilo for him? But
Walker did officially retire, so that's not going to happen.
Who did?
DJ Walker.
Oh yeah. Hey, Mike Rapoli. $1 million man said it best. There's always a price. Mike Rapoli to put his money where his mouth is.
I think
how much do you need, bro?
Houston needs something to make up for the terrible, terrible ordeal they've been through the last half decade with alternative football.
You should call AJ McCarron. I heard he's not playing quarterback right now.
I'd rather they bring MBT back from Canada because then we could have DTR and MBT. It'd be great.
Yes, Sesame Street would be happy with that combo.
Get another W, Houston over Birmingham. Have them somehow get El Gersma's visa.
That'd be amazing.
Oh my God! Another W for Kevin Sumlin against the Stallions.
Well,
Can you believe he has a winning record over the Stallions? Only coach to do that.
It's pretty cool. Pretty crazy.
Yeah,
and
but
I think
that stand.
He's going to end up with almost the same record as he did in the USFL, Kevin Sumlin, losing these games by, less than the.
Hey,
less
but
than
at least that year he could say he held on to a halftime lead in 9 of them. Like at least he was winning. Like if it was halftime record, he was 9-1.
Yeah.
This year it's
They lost 7 games in the last 2 minutes by 1 score or less that season. It was terrible.
I
And
mean,
they had Chris Odom, and they had
the only team to lose to Kirby Wilson's Maulers.
Oh, that's terrible.
I mean, I don't know if you're not a USFL guy, you do not understand. That year, I guess I'm saying this disrespectfully. If you were an XFL guy and you thought Hines Ward or Terrell Buckley was a bad coach, you didn't see the Pizzagate man himself, Kirby Wilson, in 2022.
Mike's right there, though.
Like Freedom 68 or something. Every single oh my god.
Yeah.
Mike is right there.
No comment. No comment.
But the crazy thing is that Mahler's team had some good players. I mean, I swear, didn't they have Cavazzino on that team?
Yeah, they had like a lot of the teams. Jaron Horton was still there, but Kirby Wilson, that quarterback room, dude, Vadley wins you that game against Houston, and he looks good. And then they benched him like 2 quarters later for Roland Rivers. Like, what are you doing? Dude, when I was doing a live play, when we were watching Harrison Frost play that game, we were bringing up like James Morgan, Kyle Loletta in terms of how bad a performance Harrison Frost did. Like, dude, that Mahler's team, oh my god.
Yeah.
Hey, Royce, you know what would have really helped that team if they had Davion Smith in their roster?
Oh, yeah. Oh, but he eats pizza. You can't do that.
Yeah, he didn't want a chicken salad.
All right, guys. As much as I'm enjoying this conversation, we're starting to run a little bit long. Rick, take it away, guys. Thank you for joining us every Tuesday. Anywhere you see our socials on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you'll find our show. You'll find our socials. Please give us a like and a follow, and we'll see you next week, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.